Hello, game Mavic traders, and welcome out. This is Kits from Mavic Currencies, and let's begin our market coverage. It's the 30th of the month. Let's talk about today's market price action and talk about our upcoming 24 hours. And as always, make sure you're kind of doing your due diligence and doing your coming up with a game plan as we discuss in the currency room. So let's do a quick market analysis and talk about our upcoming 24 hours and what has happened so far in the markets today. So looking at this price action today, it was a bit of a pullback, and you can see that the market has broken out overall, but then we are just taking a bit of a short-term pause. So right now, again, we are expecting markets to kind of have a finishing touch over here before it turns lower. We still think we are in the overall downtrend, and in the shorter term, we're doing a classic ABC correction pattern. So markets again starting off on a negative note, but this is a very busy week. Again, maybe this is some hesitation as we go into this week with the FOMC ahead. So this is what we were expecting. I was expecting a little bit more stronger price action in the first half of the week, but looks like we're starting off wobbly here. So we'll see how things goes. But this again is a very busy week when it comes to these events. Now looking at across the board, World Market Index, World Stock Index is the exact same thing. We're seeing a bit of a pullback across the board today. I've been taking a look at the crypto market, same thing. We were consolidating for the longest time. It looks like we were ready to break out, and then boom, we are right back in below into the range here. So far, I expect markets to kind of stay on the sideways side a little bit before we can go into the Fed on Wednesday, and then after that, we probably see a little bit more fireworks. So if you take a look at percentage change today, S&P again down 1.3%, VT down 1.21%. Crypto again took a hefty loss with 5% up across the board. Gold is down and oil is down. So pretty much everything is down today. So now let's take a look at how the crypto market and the currency market did today. Again, crypto markets, like I said, were down across 5% today. If you look at the Bitcoin, Ethereum, pretty much right across the board. Now taking a look at currency, and this is where I'm kind of pay a little bit more attention because these are not the spectacular returns that you're looking for as you're participating in the markets. Again, anything below 0.5% was not a great trading day. And you can see that the dollar was down close to 0.5%, but everything else, I mean, yen, Swiss franc, euros up a little bit, pound is a little bit up a little bit, Canadian dollar, I mean, Aussie was the weakest one, and that's only 0.30%. So it doesn't matter how good looking chart you can find, we need that movement. And right now, I'm not really seeing these percentage change making a bit of a turn where we're getting a more 1 to 2% moves. So a little bit more on the absence of price action in the currency market. Overall in the equities, like I said, even though with the pullback, the price action still are in the breakout zone. So I think we need to kind of fall back within the zone here in order to test this downward trend line, which it broke out last week. But again, for that, we probably need some news catalysts. And this week is full with news catalysts. And this is, again, I like this week because every single currency that is likely to have a move based on the news events that we can get from those currencies. We can see the tomorrow morning is the Canadian GDP. We'll be taking a look at Canadian dollar in the next 24 hours. We have the Kiwi employment report tomorrow. But really the big one is on Wednesday, which is the FOMC press conference. Again, they're looking to raise rates by 25 basis points, but the big focuses will be on the press conference. If they come out a lot more hawkish, again, that will be negative for the markets and positive for the dollar in the shorter term. We also have the ECB and the Bank of England on Thursday, so very busy second half of the week. But as we take a look at the first couple of days, today there was no real news event happening. Tomorrow we have a couple that we'll pay attention to. But again, most importantly, starting Wednesday is where we'll expect a little bit more fireworks. So let's do a quick currency analysis and see where the velocity score is. And unfortunately, all the major scoring is between -1 and a +1. Again, these are not strong scores, which means that we are not getting big movements here. And this is, again, a time to kind of keep the powder dry and wait for news events, because I think that's where we probably get bigger movements. The only bigger movements were in the crypto markets that were down -2. But again, we are seeing a mild +1 and a mild -1. So conviction is not there, percentage change is not there, which means that it's a good time to kind of keep it on the sidelines. So let's take a look at possible trades in the upcoming 24 hours and see if we can find anything. So far, as you can see, let's do a quick currency basket analysis. And if you take a look at 4-hour chart, I mean, we are getting this pop up in the US dollar above the 50-day moving average, which again, we haven't really seen since the beginning of the year. I mean, we saw one over here, a little pop up, and then we kind of fell right back into it. So I think at this point, velocity score is improving a little bit. But again, the big obstacle or big event to kind of go through is Wednesday. After that, we'll have a better idea what the US dollar wants to do. But in the shorter term, it's definitely catching a bit here. But in the longer term, it continues to be in this downtrend. So keep that in mind when you're trying to pick up a direction. Longer term is telling us it's in a downtrend. Shorter term is telling us it's kind of going up. So you're pretty much getting an opposite score as far as the trend goes and velocity goes. So not really looking for a trade there. We have the euro pop up a little bit, but notice that euro is kind of still sideways. Japanese yen, I must say, like this thing hasn't really broken in a meaningful way, regardless on the upside or the downside. So I think until we can really break this support or that resistance, this thing is really not a good trade so far. Swiss franc is the one that I have a close eye on. I talked about this in the currency room. I think the next big trade could be this Swiss franc on a break to the downside. But you can see that right now, velocity score is pretty low. Look at the ATR, the range. We are in the tightest range for the past month and a half, which is kind of crazy. I mean, this reminds me of this zone here. If you look at it back July and August and September, for 3 months, it just didn't really had a big move, and then we saw a big pickup in velocity here. So we are almost in a two month sideways period, and we're looking for a bit of a velocity. But I think this time around it will be towards the downside. Now the British pound again looks very uninteresting. After that big V-shaped recovery that we had last year, this thing has not gone anywhere. So not really finding a whole lot of motivation and conviction, as you can see. The Canadian dollar, which is also on my watch list, especially if I go on a longer term chart, you can see it's, we have some support here, but everything kind of looks like in a no man's land right now. So it's not really going down, but it's not really going up. So we'll see if the Canadian GDP can move the needle. But so far, you can see, not expecting, the big move is already done. I mean, right now it's just consolidation, range of price action. So keeping the percentage change onto the downside here. Now, Australian dollar, which had a pretty impressive week last week on the stronger CPI numbers. And if you take a look at it since then, since the CPI release, I mean, we're starting to see giving back these gains that we have seen. So I'm not really seeing a whole lot of follow through. Like I said, it's not really a great buy, but it's not really a great sell. This is very dependent on what the global markets do. So keep an eye on the equities. If we see further downside in the markets, we'll probably see this suffer a little bit. But I think right now, keeping a close eye on this. Now, lastly, the Kiwi. And today we saw a bit of a shift. Again, not really getting that big velocity move. This is mostly sideways price action. It's not a buy. It's not a screaming buy, or it's not a screaming sell. So clearly, not really, looking at everything else, I mean, the only thing that is moving is the dollar here. And again, if the dollar can get out of this little downward trend, maybe Wednesday could mark a turn. I think there's definitely more opportunities there, but the probability is not really that high for that trade to develop. If I take a look at technical setups, I have some good technical setups that I'm paying a close eye on. But again, at the same time, just not really getting a breakout. And the timing is everything in the markets, as you know. And right now, the timing is hard. We could be in a trade for much longer before it breaks out. The Canadian Swiss franc is the one that I like on this turn. You can see that after a big breakdown here, it's actually getting above the 20 and the 50. So it looks like it's trying to turn here. But for this, timing is everything. I think shorter term is trying to reverse to the upside. And if you look at the difference between the 200 moving average to a 50 moving average is quite vast. So I do like this on a risk to reward basis, but again, keep in mind the timing for it. Same thing, we had some good trades. Kiwi Swiss franc is holding here. And same thing, looking at the resistance here. So I do like the risk to reward on these trades. It's just a matter of getting the Swiss franc going. So keep an eye on Swiss franc basket. And if we start to see more movements, again, I think there's definitely more areas where we can find good trades. I mean, same thing, you can take a look at dollar Swiss franc. You can see that this is the pair that's breaking above the 20-day moving average. So long period of consolidation. It's trying to get above it. So what we need to do is trying to get above this 20 to 50-day moving average to really turn the tide on this. And so far you can see that it's not hasn't really turned the tide. And for the last 2 months, dollar Swiss franc actually is the same. So that's kind of telling you that the dollar and Swiss franc has no real, difference in between them. So we can actually go for Swiss franc crosses as well if you're looking for a bigger move, and we can actually compare that against other currencies as well. So those are the ones. Lastly, Euro Swiss franc. This is another pair that I'm keeping a close eye on, and you can see that it actually got above this the parity level, and right now we're just kind of going sideways here. I mean, this still has a lot of room to recover. I mean, remember last year in summer, this thing was sitting at like 103 to 106, and then it almost went down to like 95, 96 area. So it's rebounded nicely. You can see it's above the 20, 50, and the 200 moving average. So again, if the Swiss franc can make a turn, I think this will make a good trade on the turn side as well. But I think for now, you want to keep the powder dry as much. We saw a pullback here on the Aussie dollar. But again, I think we're still above the moving averages. So not really a strong momentum. So for dollar crosses, bigger focus is on Wednesday. Tomorrow, I'll be paying close attention to the CAD and then maybe the Kiwi for the employment report. So again, our game plan this week is really to be active around news events. So that's where we'll be hunting for more opportunities. Again, markets are mildly bullish. So even a pullback today, we'll have to see if that spills over into tomorrow. Volatility, again, remains low across the board. So focus on increasing volatility around these events. Trade less, focus on currency in play, and make sure you have a good proper position sizing. We have one more day to finish out January. So, keep the powder dry. And I think starting February 1st, we'll have a lot more of the fireworks. So make sure you kind of go and check the schedule, as the schedule will be flipping and you'll be able to see the classes that we have available for the rest of the week. And again, you can see this is a busy week ahead. So thanks everyone for joining. Enjoy your rest of the day. We'll see you next update. Cheers.